Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and time for a special video. It's the Nioh 3 review. Yes, we've been lucky enough to play it early, and now we're able to talk about it in a much larger way. Though I'm going to be avoiding any major spoilers. A lot of the footage we'll look at will be from the first half of the game. But let's get to the point. I played Nioh 1, I played Nioh 2, and I think they're standout in the Souls-like genre. Is this sequel a worthy follow-up to those? Is it a progression of those, and should you play it? Yes, absolutely yes. The major draw for the game is obviously the combat, which has so much going on at once that there are many answers to many situations. You can keep it basic and just stay samurai and always deflect basically every attack, or you could swap to the ninja style that's new and just fully commit to that. But this game comes alive when you engage with everything, the updated magic system, using your ninjutsu and a few of those specific combos, and then style swapping to the samurai to then counter the attacks coming your way, build up resources to swap back to the ninja. You can set your build up to be all about parrying, whether you're a samurai or in fact playing ninja, depending on the weapon and the upgrades you've got. You're basically playing two builds at the same time, and how you coordinate those to serve different purposes or overlap in purpose is all up to you. And with that incredible control, they just throw ridiculous challenges at you in some really fun settings. But because of that, I think the barrier of entry has never been higher in Nioh 3. I mean, the style shift system. You're playing the two playstyles with two different builds at the same time. Even if you're not doing that, classic Nioh and the systems there, the three different stances and different purposes, high being more locked down, low being much more evasive, different attacks. You got key pulsing to manage your stamina, then the flux system to swap stances at the right moment, then you got magic, transformations, and other special skills. It was already a lot going on. In Nioh 3 you have all of that and more, and the ninja style, which you swap between. And it's honestly insane. It's crazy how fast they expect you to take this all in, and I think that's the beauty of Nioh. There's so many options, there's so much going on. Yes, it's probably going to be overwhelming. I mean, I played Nioh 1 and 2, I was very familiar, and I find, in fact, the ninja style a lot simpler than, say, the samurai initially. But if you're a completely new player, I do think it's going to be really hard. But still, I think it's incredible. Sure, you have to be ready to take on a lot, but you can always minimize what you're engaging with while you're learning. And I think that's a clever way to do it. The experienced and advanced players who just want it all, get it all basically right away. But if you're new, you can just stick to playing ninja and get comfortable with that. Then stick to samurai or vice versa and get the basic unlocks going. Swap stances mid-combat, unlock a couple moves and get comfortable with one weapon. Then when things start to feel more approachable, you could start to mix it up, layer in a bit more, or just do it all at once if you want. And with that in mind, I think the demo has been an incredible thing for this game, because it's given a lot of people a chance to try the game, right? Since it's pretty intimidating, but at the same time, a chance to learn all of this stuff, yet with clear limitations because they do layer more into the full game. But anyone that's played the demo is going to have an easier time getting into the game and basically understanding the new systems pretty quick because of it. So yeah, that's my general answer to give you in this opening. The game's fantastic, even if it's an absolute wall of information that you have to be ready to overcome. When it all clicks, it's so good, and it's something completely unique. There's really nothing like the Nioh games, so I absolutely recommend it if you're up for that challenge, because it will reward you. But now, let's talk about a few different topics. Starting with the story, which is probably one of the weakest aspects of the game, but I think it sets up a lot of cool stuff. I mean, you're the main character, you're about to become the Shogun, but before you can, the reality of your brother who's fallen to darkness through greed and jealousy uses the power of yokai to kind of destroy everything that's been built so he can steal your place. So what was essentially an era of peace is now chaos. We survived that scenario thanks to our guardian spirit, and now suddenly we're in a different time period. And through the main acts of the story, you actually go through to different eras, with different characters and different disputes. We'll go back a few hundred years, or over 1,000, when things were drastically different, or even in the future where the world has kind of changed and you see what's happened after that betrayal. That time travel lets them create a lot of different settings. It's obviously just a simple excuse to allow yokai in the world. There has to be chaos and destruction and disaster for those monsters, corruption, greed, wrath, malice, monstrous people for the monsters that are there. And so we get a clean slate, setting up the revenge storyline. But the biggest aspect here is the time travel, setting up the locations, the chapters. But outside of that, I do think the story takes a major backseat, just giving you context to where you are and why. So I found it solid enough, but it's definitely far from the reason that I really recommend this game. Another thing that I don't think is one of its strong suits, but is serviceable, is actually the visuals, because obviously they don't focus on this with the design. Though, admittedly, there are areas and times where things can look really pretty, especially areas with water or the sea in the background in Act 1. Act 2, you got the icy mountains. Even those moments when you're dealing with the crucible, you've just cleansed an area, life comes back, even post-destruction. But I will say it's just classic Nioh and demons as a visual or style. There's few steps forward with the visuals from even Nioh 2, which was quite a while ago now. I don't think the visuals are an extremely important aspect to the devs. I'm not saying they haven't improved it, they have. But it's clearly Nioh. It's rough around the edges, but I do think the VFX feel clear and enjoyable. The magic looks good, the pops of colour on your weapon at times. I think actually the sound design steals the show. When you land a burst counter or punish a knockdown, the impact is there. The voice acting is incredible, although I am not playing in English, by the way. But I do think it comes together in a satisfying way. Even if I don't think it's the most visually incredible new release, I also don't think any Nioh fan was expecting or needing some kind of crazy visual overhaul or extreme leap forward. What we want is Nioh combat to be insane, and they provide that. Let's look back at Act 1, which is the first main map that you progress. If I zoom in, you can see the absolute miasma that is all these icons. And I've actually missed a few things and ignored like 1 or 2 sections in this map. My understanding is that the average playtime in this area is somewhere between 20 and 30 hours, depending on how focused you are. If you ignore everything, I'm sure you could cut that down. But that is ridiculous. It's one area, one act, and each new act, you get a whole new map. Is this a gimmick, the whole open world or open field as they call it? You know, the big world that's empty and very repetitive and mundane. I think this has landed surprisingly well for a Nioh game because Nioh levels are often very dense, claustrophobic at times, and very punishing. In an open environment where you can come at things from lots of different angles, I find that that's more forgiving. But at the same time, you do stumble into classic Nioh levels and dungeon designs as they are. And something that's interesting in this game is how much they've lent into verticality. Because they've given us that jump and double jump, there are a lot of areas you have to climb and bounce around and do some platforming, and obviously their area design has lent into that. So it has lent a new kind of aspect of the exploration there. And while definitely you can feel a bit of a checklist system, where you've kind of got to explore, find the weasels, activate the statues, kill the formidable opponents, activate the spirit veins, especially when you unlock new powers and go back to them, clear all the bases, do all the crucible spikes, the lesser crucibles. There is a ton of stuff to do, but yes, it could be seen as checklisty, but something about it, I just wanted to explore everywhere. And it was genuinely hard for me to ignore areas and not look around properly. And that did mean I was generally overstocked on resources, levels, and so on, pretty much every time. So if you want a challenge, you absolutely can ignore all that side stuff and just go straight to the hard events and get on with it. But yeah, I do think the different eras plays a huge role here, letting them set up different regions in different ways, providing a lot of visual variety. So open world, open field, I think this is a huge win for the series. And I thought it was going to be kind of a weaker side of the game. Now, obviously, one of the strongest aspects of the game is combat. And they absolutely smash the landing here. Now, if you've played the demo or any of the Nioh games, I think you know a lot of this stuff. The stances, the unlocks you get. Interestingly, you have your samurai and ninja unlocks, right? And samurai doesn't actually have a lot going on. But most of this is already unlocked at the start of the game and even in the demo. And you get all the way to the whole Frost Moon stuff, which is really cool. Compared to that, you have the ninja, which has so much more going on, but only like the 3 slots to actually equip it. There's so much choice here, yet you can only actually do a few things. But that does leave you with a lot of samurai points and ninja points to invest in the weapons that you're using, to then actually unlock some of the more interesting mechanics. The fact that through my weapon, I can access certain parts of elements, which is really useful if that enemy's weak to that element. Thinking about where you are and what you need actually has a huge impact. For example, Flame Breath is honestly not that strong of a skill, but when I use it against the slimes, it causes them to blow up instantly, and I can channel it through multiple targets at once. In fact, all of Act 2, where fire is a really relevant resource and they obviously push you towards that, it's cool to be able to unlock a bunch of different things, like that fire and equip it when it's relevant, or swap to say a water style ninjutsu, because it's really easy to do this as you may have experimented in the demo. The customization here, you get to see everything that you've got and then swap between them. So this is a great way to approach it. You look at each of your things, so like here, high stance, I don't have anything after a strong attack. So I could probably do with finding something suitable that's a good unlock and then fill that slot. And we slowly work this in. I'm not starting doing all this stuff, but I am trying different options. And that constant experimentation allows me to get really comfortable with different movesets, different combos and different purposes in the moment. The whole style switching thing, slamming in all of this at once, your ninja playstyle, your samurai playstyle, and which weapon you've got and how you've unlocked these combos and attacks and movesets, it can be extremely overwhelming. But the truth is, it kind of calms down at a certain point. It's the most overwhelming during Act 1, but I would say like those that have played the demo a good amount are going to be fine now. And if you haven't, you'll get through like areas 1, 2, and 3, maybe 4, and by that time it starts to calm down a bit and you can just spend time learning what's there. Eventually then, I think it becomes something incredible, and I think we're going to struggle to see another Souls-like that comes close to this level of depth, and certainly one that actually pulls it off. And there's interesting stuff that happens as you make progression in the game that changes the combat. Like guardian skills become a way to interrupt burst breaks when you're getting into Act 2. And obviously you start to unlock new locations and challenges when you get access to more Spirit Vein types. But it's stuff that's simple, like initially we cleanse yokai realms by using key pulses. But then we can change it to be cleansing them through evasion. And a lot of this is something that you get to choose. You can keep it the same throughout or drastically change things a lot. So it always feels like there's a lot of stuff you can engage with, and I encourage you to experiment because that keeps it interesting the whole way. One important system I want to mention as well, this is no tips video or whatever, but the blacksmith. Pretty quick you're going to unlock soul matching and soul extraction, and what this is basically taking the weapon or equipment that you're using, and then you can use these soul ores and of course currency to improve the level. So if you have a weapon that you're really happy with, you can keep increasing its level to increase the output that it has, letting you stick with one for a lot longer than you might think, which is important if the special effects are good for you and your build. So on that note, the equipment that you get, all the drops, is absolutely insane. And you have like 4 options, I think, with them, where you can go to a shrine and give them up and get, souls or amrita to level up. You can disassemble them to get different crafting materials to then craft specific weapons that you like. You can soul extract them to get that soul ore for the upgrading of the weapons you do want. And then towards the start of Act 2, you get the new tea house with clan battles and stuff where you can donate gear there as well. So you get a ton of equipment, but they do have a lot of things you can do with it. There's also titles where you get prestige. This is another progression system, right? Because as samurai here, I can reduce the amount of stamina I'm using when I'm just raw guarding, which is really helpful when I'm learning a fight and a moveset. If you ignore these things, you're missing out on a lot of power that makes the game a lot easier. Weapon familiarity, the crucible skills that come from that. When it comes to leveling up, making sure that you've got 2 weapons that overlap with a main stat that you're leveling, like I do have here. The blessing stuff, where you're rewarded for finding the kodama to have better healing or amounts of healing or damage reduction buffs when you take a heal. There's so much going on here in regards to management. So many systems overlapping. And even that, much like the combat, can be really overwhelming, but it is absolutely worth it if you invest the time to understand it and engage with every system as they throw it at you, because it pays long term, even if it is initially very dense. So yeah, I think that'll do for my review. Obviously, I'm trying to keep this spoiler averse, so let me just end it with what I've been saying. Nioh 3 is a genuinely fantastic game, and a surprising improvement of the previous games, whether it's the open field that I didn't think I would like, or the ridiculous style swapping, playing 2 builds at the same time with ninja and samurai. And I could easily see a lot of people just sticking to the classic samurai because it's what they know from Nioh 1 and 2. Or, even then, people just playing ninja because it's new and different. One might feel more comfortable or stronger at the moment, and you stick to that. But again, I do think it's well worth it to engage with both and swap between them as much as you can get away with. So the game at first is overwhelming, but it's a rare case where investing that understanding and time, it all clicks eventually. And when it does, it's so worth it. So if you've been on the fence about Nioh or Nioh as a series before, this is a high for sure. And I strongly recommend it. For now then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.